First topic I'm going to be talking about is the slope.
Do you have any tape by chance? My glasses just broke.
Huh?
Do you have any tape? My glasses just broke.
Tape?
Yes.
Yes. You want some super glue?
Maybe.
Do it, so the glue's not here. Is it reading glasses?
There are glasses for everything.
But if you just want reading, I have some extra old ones for reading.
I'm not sure I can see.
They're reading one.
No, that makes it worse.
Yep. Slope. Slop, slope, whatever you want to call it, no. The slope is defined as what? The rise over the run, yes. Change in y over change in x, or y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. That's the definition of a slope. Hopefully you've seen that before. Now, to find the slope, you have to be given 2 points to use that equation. If you don't have 2 points, so if we have the points like 5, comma 3, and 2, comma negative 7, we have a line that passes through these 2 points. Let's see what it looks like. Five and 3. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So right here, 2 and negative 7 down here. So if you graph the line that goes through these points, it looks like this. Now, if you remember your slope, is this a positive slope or a negative slope? If it's rising as you go to the right, if it's rising like a plane taking off, that's a positive slope. If it's coming down as you go to the right, as you're traveling this way, if it's coming down, that's what? Negative slope. If it stays flat, that's what? Zero slope. If your yard is flat, you have no slope in it. You know? So you have positive slope, negative slope, zero slope, undefined slope. I'll put them in the next picture. I'll draw a picture for you. So the slope here, m, that's what we use for the slope. It's y sub 2 minus y sub 1 over x sub 2 minus x sub 1. Well, what is y sub 2 and what is y sub 1? Well, you have 2 points there. It doesn't matter which one you call point 1, which one you call point 2. So most normal people, they'll say, well, that's the first one, that's point 1, and that's point 2. Since there's nothing normal about me, I'll call this point 2. And that's point 1, just to be different. Doesn't make a difference. Your answer is going to be the same. So if I call this point 1, then this is the x value of point 1. That's the y value of point 1. If this is point 2, this is the x value of point 2, that's the y value of point 2. And my slope now is going to be what? y2 minus y1, 3 minus a negative 7 over 5 minus 2. 3 plus 7, 10, 5 minus 2, which is what? 3. Positive 10 over 3. What does that mean, 10 over 3? For every 3 steps that you go to the right, you climb up how many steps? 10. For every 3 to the right, you go up 10 units. It is a positive slope. As I said, there's 3 or 4 options for the slope. The slope could be positive, the slope could be negative, the slope could be 0, the slope could be undefined. Picture-wise, what does it look like? This is a positive slope. So I'll give you pictures so you'll know. I'll go positive slope. Negative slope. Zero slope. And undefined slope. These are the four options. That's it. There's no other choices. We're talking about a straight line. It's going to have one of these four options. So what's a positive slope? Again, as you go to the right, it's increasing. So any of these is actually a positive slope. Any of them. All of these have positive slope. As you go to the right, you can see the function is rising. Negative slope. All of these have negative slope. As you go to the right, notice the y value is dropping. Zero slope, that's when you have something like this, horizontal. That's you have y equals 1. When y equals 1, that's a horizontal line, has a zero slope. Y equals 2. Y equals 3, y equals negative 2, y equals negative 3, y equals negative 4. All these lines have zero slope. They're horizontal. And the last option is undefined slope, and that's when you have a line going up and down. Like x equals 1, x equals 3, x equals 5, x equals negative 1, x equals negative 4. All these have undefined slope. Why? Why are they undefined? Because, yep, when you pick 2 points, the x value is going to be the same, right? The slope is the rise over the run. So it's going to be, let's say the x value here is what, 3? What's 3 minus 3? 0. Can you divide a fraction by 0? That's why it's undefined slope. Why is it zero slope? The y value is going to be the same. A 7, for example. What's 7 minus 7? 0. 0 over any number is always a 0. So you could have positive slope, negative slope, zero slope, or undefined slope. These are the four options. When you're flying, usually I keep saying, I always think of a slope when you're flying, going on a trip there. You better hope that you don't have the undefined slope there. Because normally when the plane takes off, what happens? It rises, that's a positive slope. Then what happens? It levels, that's a negative slope. Then it lands gently there. Levels, that's a zero slope. Then it goes down to land, that's a negative slope. If there's an explosion on the plane, like what happened to Egypt Airline, just dropped out of the sky, that's what this case is. Boom, goes straight down, So we don't like that. We don't want that.
Did they ever find that plane on Curiosity?
They found some wreckage and ping and all that, but I don't know if they pulled it yet. We're looking for divers. Who wants to go 5,000 feet? Is it? No, 10,000 feet deep. They wait for the submarine to come. Yep. Also, another thing in this section beside the slope is when we ask you to find the equation of the line, when you hear find the equation of the line, I always tell people, when you hear that, you want to think of this equation. Y minus y1 equals m times x minus x sub 1. Now that looks like a different equation than the slope, doesn't it? It looks like a different equation, but it's not. It's really the same one. Notice, remember the equation of the slope? I'll leave a space for a reason here. But remember the equation of the slope? The slope is what? Was y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1, isn't it? But instead of calling y sub 2 and x sub 2, what about if I decide to call them y and x instead of y2? And leave the other one as y1. That'll be fine. That's still the rise over the run. Now, can I solve this for get rid of the fraction? What's the best way to get rid of the fraction here? You multiply both sides by what? X minus x1. So you end up with what? Y minus y sub 1 equals m times x minus x sub 1. Isn't that this equation up there? So it's the same as the slope. We just played with it. Played with algebra. This is actually known as the point slope form. Why? Why they call it the point slope? To use this one, you need two things. You will need one point, and you will need the slope. Can't use it if you're missing one. You gotta do some extra work. The point actually gives you x1 and y sub 1. That's what the point gives you. And the slope gives you the value of m. Once you have these two, you can plug them in and you can find the name of that line. So an example on this. Again, if I go too fast, slow me down. Find the equation of the line that passes through somebody pick a point, x and y value, go ahead. 3 comma 2 and has a slope m equals, somebody pick a number. Negative 1/2, you said? I don't know if I heard you right or not. We'll use negative 1/2. I don't want to be always beautiful, easy, simple numbers. Could be a fraction. Once you hear find the equation, I want like a signal in my head saying, oh, wait a minute. It says find the equation. I got to use this one. And this is your x sub 1. This is your y sub 1. If you plug it in, y minus 2 equals negative 1/2 x minus 3. If they said write the answer in the point slope form, you stop right here. This is the point slope form. Don't simplify it. But if they ask you to simplify that, solve it for y, which you can, if you want to solve it for y, what are you going to have? Yep. It'll be negative 1/2 x plus what? 3/2. And to get rid of the minus 2 here, what do? Add 2 to both sides. Three halves, isn't that 1.5? 3/2. 1 and 1/2. Add to it 2. That's 3 and 1/2. If you don't like it like this, 2 times 3, 6 plus 1, 7/2. This has a name. When you put it in this form, slope-intercept form. So you got to be careful with the software. They will ask you to write the answer in this form or in that form. If they ask you for this form and you put that, they'll mark it wrong. If they ask you for this and you put that, they'll mark it wrong. Why they call this the slope-intercept form? Because once you get it to this format, the slope is really negative 1/2, and the y-intercept is x is 0 for the y-intercept and 7/2. As a point is 0 and 7/2. So this is your y-intercept and this is your slope. As I said, anytime they ask you for the equation of the line, you want to be thinking about this, and you need one point and the slope. As I said here, there's two things that you need, but sometimes we trick you. We don't give you both them. So I'll finish this topic, then we're done for the night. So what do I mean by we trick you? I go find the equation of the line. That passes through negative 3 comma 2, and I'm making things up, really I don't have anything in mind, negative 4 comma 7. It says find the equation of the line. I go, oh, I got it. I got that signal. It says when you're looking for the equation, you got to use this one. I left a space intentionally on the top. I got to use that one. But to use this, what do you need? Slope. Do we have the slope? So what do we need to do first? Find the slope first. That's why I left a space there. So to find the slope, we go back to what? y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. This is x1, y1, x2, y2. 7 minus 2, negative 4 minus a negative 3. 7 minus 2 is 5. Negative 4 plus 3 is negative 1. That's a negative 5. Now, can we finish it? Y minus, do we know what y sub 1 is? 2 equals negative 5 times x minus a minus, that's plus 3. Again, this is point slope form. If they don't want to leave it in this form, then you got to finish it. Y minus 2 equals what? Negative 5x minus 15. Add the 2 to both sides. And what's this form known as? Slope intercept form. So that's one of the twists they might put in a problem. They don't give you the slope, they give you 2 points. Or, let's color more examples, then we're done. Find the equation of the line. That passes through. I should have just wrote this on papers and have them ready. Zero, negative 5, and parallel to. Two x minus y equals 0. Find the passes, and why do I have 2 R's there? And parallel to. Two x minus y equals 0. Again, leave a space there. I gotta use this. I got a point. This is x1, y1. Minus a minus, that's plus 5. But I don't have a slope. What do we know about parallel lines? They have the same slope. So if I know the slope to this line, I know the slope to my line. So parallel lines have the same slope. So what is the slope for this line then? That is 2x minus y equals 0. What's the slope of that? 2, not a minus 2? Y plus 2. Yes, you gotta solve it for y first. So to solve it for y, you gotta take the minus y there. And if you take the minus y there, it becomes what? So you have to solve it for y first. So y equals 2x. The slope of this line is the number in front of x once you put it in that format. So the slope is 2. Now take the 2 and put it down here. You have y plus 5 equals what? 2x. Y equals 2x minus 5. Again, it depends on the form they want it. This is point slope. And this is what? Slope. I'm dyslexic today. Intercept form. One more example, and we are done for the night. We did parallel, so guess what's left? Perpendicular. There we go. Few things about perpendicular lines. They can't have the same slope. Why? Because perpendicular lines, that means they cross each other. If they cross each other, they can't have the same slope. They cross, not just any crossing, they cross at 90 degree. So those are perpendicular lines. This is line 1, this is line 2. They cross at 90 degree, they are perpendicular to each other. Their slopes are not the same. But we found out if you take the slope of the first line and you multiply it by the slope of the second line, guess what the answer always going to be? -1. -1. So if you take that equation, rewrite it, I know what you're saying there. The slope of the second line is always -1 over the slope of the first line. What does that mean, -1 over? First, let me put the minus in the front. This one means what? Change the sign. And this one means what? Flip it. So if the first line, for example, has a 2/3 for the slope, for the first line, guess what the second line will have for a slope? Flip it and change the sign. If the first line has a slope of -5, then the second line, change the sign. It's a negative, change it becomes what? Positive, and flip this. This is 5/1 really. When you flip 5/1, what are you going to have? 1/5. Yes. What happened?
Right above that, you have both ends too. How about it? I'm gonna,
Oh, M1, it should be a thank you. Yeah, that's this one here. That should be M1, thank you. Yep. The fan is so loud, you can't hear. I hope it's not on the video too. If the first one has a slope of 1/7, the second line will have a slope of what? -7/1, which is -7. So just like the previous one example we did, here's my last example. Find the equation of a line that passes through (6 and -5) and perpendicular to 6x plus 9y equals 7. I'm just making things up. Having too much fun. So I need to find the slope of this line first. Because if I know the slope of this line, I know the slope of our line. How do we find the slope of this line? I need to solve it for y. So 9y equals negative 6x plus 7. All I did, took the 6x to this side. Usually I have a habit of saying change side, change sign. When I move things from one side to another, I change the sign. That's a quick way of doing it. And now to solve for y, you got to divide everything by what? By 9. So what is y equal to? Negative 2/3 x plus 7 over 9. What is the slope of this line? Negative 2/3. So what is our slope? Flip and change the sign. Positive 3/2. Our slope is perpendicular to that one, so you flip it and change the sign. So now, y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. Y minus a minus 5, that becomes a plus 5. Y plus 5, I'll put it in the slope-intercept form. That's 3/2 x minus 3 times 6, 18 divided by 2, is that a 9? I'm going to take the plus 5 to this side, change sign, becomes a negative 5. What's minus 9 minus 5? Is it negative 14? And that's the equation of the line that I'm looking for.